As a retired financial advisor, people are often surprised when I tell them, the reality is retirement is only 20% about money and it's 80% about things outside of money. And it's just common because what we see in the news, what we're brought up with is it's important to save money, money, money. And money is a key part. That is the foundation for your retirement. But that foundation is an important foundation, but it only represents 20% of the big picture. So what is the other 80%? What are the things that we need to be concerned with, and what can you be doing today to better prepare for that? I would say a big piece of that other 80% is our health, and not just our physical health. Our physical health is super important, but also our mental health, and doing what we can to stay in good mental health, both before we retire and in retirement. And a key part of that is just making sure that we don't isolate ourselves. It's super easy, particularly when people retire. It's a big transition, and in this transition, just like when many of us left home to go to college, there's a period of time where it's somewhat easy to make friends. You're new, you've retired, maybe like in my case, I've relocated. There is a window of time where we can make those new friends easily. Now, it doesn't mean you can't, but again, you're the new person in the group or you're newly retired, and it opens the door. It opens the door for you to go do things during the day when you used to have to go to work. So number one for your mental health is the importance of not isolating, and I think the importance of the friends, not just making new friends, because we are gonna lose some friends when we leave work, but it's also important to look at our friends and say, "Are these the right friends for me? Are they lifting me up? Are they encouraging me to be my best self? Are they encouraging me to find out a way to make my retirement as much fun? Are they encouraging me to take advantage of my go-go years, or are they holding me back? Do they put me down?" And my grandfather was a farmer, and just like when he prepared a field for planting, and when he was waiting for that crop to come in, he'd have to do some pruning. Right, so there's some flowers in the field that are beautiful, those are our great friends, and then there's the bread and butter of our friends, our core friends, that's the crop, and then there's the weeds, and the weeds where we have to say, "You know what? I'm tired of somebody not rooting for me to be my best version," and I wanna encourage you, as important it is to not isolate yourself, it's also important to not have naysayers around you too much of the time. Okay, the next thing I wanna talk about is something that's really important, and as a financial advisor, I used to tell my clients this, and most financial advisors will tell you this. It is important to retire to something as opposed to away from something, but I think that can cause people to delay retiring for years when they could have otherwise enjoyed retirement, and here's what that "but" is. And that is, you're probably currently working 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 hours a week or more. And it's natural for people to think, well, I'm not sure what I would do with 40 hours a week. I have something that I'd really enjoy doing for 15 or maybe at most 20 hours a week. And having retired myself about a year ago, I can tell you that was my situation. I had something that I was pretty sure that I would enjoy doing for 15 to 20 hours, but it's just my nature. I wanted something that, I'm at work now for 40 or 50 hours a week. I want something that I'm retiring to that's for 40 or 50 hours a week. And if I had waited for that, I would have given up this last year. I may have given up the next year. Remember, the four most dangerous words for a would-be retiree is just one more year. That has robbed many, many people of the youth of their senior years, and unfortunately, some people pass away. They're kicking the can down the street, "Just one more year, my boss offered me this promotion or this cool assignment or a bonus," um, and if you let that happen too many years in a row, you can find yourself with 3, 4, 5 years cut off of your retirement, so be super careful with that. And getting back to my point about not needing something 40 hours a week, I think as long as you have the seed, a good solid seed of something that you have a purpose on. From there, other activities, other passions can blossom, and sometimes they're just super simple things. One of the things I really enjoy doing right now is taking a walk with my wife, with our daughter's Labrador. So I enjoy doing that. It's super simple, um, but it's a bonding thing for my wife and I, and it's nice. I'm here in the Pacific Northwest. We don't have many months where we get weather like this, so it's fun to take advantage of it. Okay, and if you're struggling with what activities would you do, I encourage you to read a book that's called Die with Zero. Admittedly, it's got a silly name, but it talks about the role of money and how to get the most juice out of the money that you've worked hard to save. So it's Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. And regarding purpose, what is your next purpose gonna be? We all transition as we retire and as we get older. Most of us, when we start our career, we're individual contributors, and then some of us decide to go to the supervisor role. I did that for a while. I was a great individual contributor. As a supervisor, that was a skill that I had to learn. Fortunately, I was able to learn that, but we evolve through our career, and it's the same thing as we get into our 50s and our 60s, and we think about what our next purpose is gonna be. We evolve, and some of that's gonna be being a mentor, being a coach, being an advisor for people that are down on the field, slugging it out like we were doing when we were younger, and a good book for that is a book called From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. It'll give you a good feel for that. And then also, I want to share the importance of being on the same page with your spouse when it comes to retirement. I don't know how many, obviously, I don't know how many years you've been retired, but for many folks, they've been married for decades. They and their spouse have made sacrifices to save up money. They've talked about the dreams, the things that they want to do in retirement. And it's important for both of you to be on the same page, both, what does retirement look like? Are you gonna do like my wife and I do and go for walks together in the afternoon? Are you gonna spend most of the day together, or are you not? Obviously, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what's best for you and your spouse. But getting on the same page before you retire can be a really important thing. And then also asking your spouse how they feel about it if you kick the retirement decision down the road one more year. And there's great reasons to do that if it makes a financial difference, right? Have a financial plan so you know if it makes a difference. On that subject, the gold standard for a financial plan is to work with a fiduciary financial advisor. Most of those folks are gonna charge about 1% a year for the money that they manage on your behalf. I know many of my viewers are never gonna do that. If that's you, sorry, there's a bug here. If if that's you, instead of building your own plan using Excel or Google Sheets, I urge you to use software designed to help you do the financial plan well, to do a good job with it, because you wanna have confidence. You wanna know that the numbers are right. You wanna know that you're not unnecessarily sacrificing, and you also wanna know that you're not putting your future financial security at risk. The software I like is called Bolden. You can find a link in the description. I am an affiliate, so you'll be supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine specifically for you that you should watch next. Thanks for watching this. Bye-bye.